Sometimes in order to accomplish a goal in a video game, you have to don a costume and try to fool everyone. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, 15 video game disguises that make no sense. Starting off at number 15 is Wolfenstein The New Order, BJ Blazkowicz disguised as a Nazi scientist, because, come on. We all know BJ Blazkowicz, right? In order to infiltrate the moon, because Wolfenstein, BJ needs to steal a scientist disguise. Oh, I'm gonna take a lab coat and that will make me look like a scientist. Oh wait, again, BJ Blazkowicz. Look at this guy, he is absolutely huge. Not exactly the first thing you think of when you think scientist. Scientists tend to spend time in a lab rather than exercising. But it does at least work perfectly in-game. You fooled them. Nazis are just pretty dumb, apparently. Although a lot of people could have told you that. Moving on to number 14 is Phoenix Wright, Trials and Tribulations. Furio Tigre, a gangster who impersonates Phoenix Wright. In the third Phoenix Wright game, you run into a little problem. There's this guy, his name is Furio Tigre because nobody can have a normal name, not an Ace Attorney. And this guy, he claims to be Phoenix Wright in order to ruin the trial Phoenix is working on. Thing is, he barely looks like Phoenix at all. His attorney badge is made of cardboard, and it's not necessarily that everyone thinks he's the real deal. They just seem too afraid to call him out on it, which is kind of an Emperor's New Clothes situation, except he's definitely not their Emperor. Number 13 is in Day of the Tentacle. We're specifically going to talk about Laverne's tentacle disguise. Now, Day of the Tentacle is one of the absolute best classic LucasArts adventure games. And if you know anything about these games, you know there's tons of nonsense puzzles to solve. Stuck in a future where the evil purple tentacle is taken over the world, yes, that's a real sentence I just said, the only way for Laverne to get free access to the rest of the mansion is by creating a tentacle disguise. Now, the disguise she creates is incredibly questionable. It does not display any competence in costume making. Her head is sticking out clear as day and her arms are hanging out of sleeves on the side, but it's a LucasArts game, so cartoon logic applies. It's apparently enough.
You're not a human sympathizer, are you?
I think humans are the vilest creatures on the planet.
That's the spirit.
Moving on to number 12, which takes place in Mother 3, disguising the dog by standing him up and putting him in a shirt and hat. It's basically exactly what it sounds like, by the way. The fact that your first party member is a dog in the Earthbound sequel that never left Japan is awesome, but it can cause some problems. At this point in the game, you need to get into a nightclub, Club Tittyboo, and talk to the band DCMC. You always have to find a band in these games, don't ask me why. The problem is you're a kid and the dog is a dog, so no admittance. That's when this ridiculous scene happens, where you walk off screen and immediately reemerge with your dog now in a t-shirt and hat. It's not even like a trench coat or anything, it's just a shirt, and the dog is obviously a dog still. That doesn't change, nor does it appear to, even. The bouncers are suspicious, but not as suspicious as they should be. It takes the appearance of Kuma to finally convince them that the dog-like dude isn't at all a dog. He's just mistaken for one a lot. Sure, that sounds real. At number 11 in Resident Evil 5, Jill is the bird mask baddie. The twist that everyone saw coming. The weird hooded bird mask figure is actually Jill Valentine. Now, in this case, the disguise isn't bad. Her face is completely covered. It's just that, come on, you play as Chris Redfield. This is the game where you fight Wesker. Of course Jill is gonna show up somehow. Now, she's being mind controlled, of course, conveniently with a weird gem parasite thing, so they can easily tear it off. It's ridiculous, but for some reason it's still pretty awesome anyways. Moving on to number 10, in Final Fantasy VII, Barrett's sailor costume, or Cloud in a dress, or Red 13 in a sailor costume. Final Fantasy VII, for whatever reason, really loves to put its characters in silly disguises. First, the whole dress Cloud up in a dress wall market sequence, and later when you infiltrate a Shinra ship crossing the sea, forcing everyone to don truly ridiculous, stereotypical sailor outfits. The one that obviously stands out is Barrett because, he has a machine gun for a hand. But Red 13, who is a dog panther thing who can barely stand on two legs, is also in a sailor suit and attempting to blend in. And no one seems to notice. At number 9 is in Pokemon Sun and Moon, the Masked Royal. Now, the Masked Royal is a guy named Professor Kukui, and it's not a very good disguise. The professor is pretty much always out, strolling around making sure people know he has abs, and he's got fairly distinct facial hair. So, when you see the masked royal and he looks basically like the same guy, same facial hair, has abs, you're just kinda like, I'm pretty sure that's the guy. Moving on to number 8, in Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, when Link dressed up as a Gerudo to get into the Gerudo village. Now this is a really important quest. You have to get into that village. There is a small hang-up though, there are no Vo allowed, and Vo are males, men. It is a no boys allowed town. So what do? You steal some clothes and pass yourself off as a woman, of course. It's not like Link makes a terrible girl or anything, but I mean, compare the two. All the Gerudo women are about twice as tall as Link, so there's kind of a small discrepancy that might make them look closer, but no, just works. I mean, you actually get into the damn palace with this disguise. Moving on to number 7, undead characters in Divinity Original Sin 2. If you choose to be undead in Original Sin 2, you're gonna expect a little hardship. First, people don't like you. They're gonna react poorly to you on sight, so to get through town without everyone getting their torches and pitchforks, you're gonna need a disguise. Of course, the disguise doesn't need to actually disguise you, really at all. You just have to have a disguise. Basically, any hat will do the trick. Doesn't really matter what concealment properties it has. You can run around with a full-on skull head, and everyone will just be like, hello, fellow human. Nothing strange about that old skull face guy over there. Take off the hat, though, gonna be trouble, because you're undead, and now they know, and they didn't know before, despite your disguise not being good. Moving on to number 6 in Super Paper Mario, the mysterious Mr. L, also known as Evil Luigi. Yes, there is an evil Luigi in this game, and it's completely obvious who he is. His disguise is basically just a black suit with a domino mask, and the L of his hat is backwards. He goes really all in on the mysterious stranger routine, but I mean, we know who he is. Unrelated is like super weird, but Luigi has full dialogue in these games, and Mario never says a word. Moving on to number 5, in Mega Man 6, Mr. X, who is very obviously Dr. Wily. I mean, come on, this one is so obvious it barely warrants mentioning. In the opening of Mega Man 6, some dude named Mr. X says it was actually him who directed Dr. Wily's actions all these years. Yes, Mr. X, sounds legit. You get to the end of the game and, well, the truth comes out. Mr. X was Dr. Wily the whole time. You mean the bad guy of every game in the series was actually the bad guy of this game? I'm shocked. At number 4, in XCOM Enemy Unknown, the Thin Man enemy type, who is obviously a friggin' alien. One of the first enemy types you encounter in XCOM Enemy Unknown is the Thin Man. It's meant to be some kind of infiltration unit of the invading alien forces committing assassinations and acts of sabotage. The word infiltration unit's the key here. They're supposed to look like humans. They don't, though. They barely look like humans at all. They're elongated, they've got bulbous alien heads, and lizard eyes they hide behind some pretty conspicuous shades. And if this is the best the invaders can do, I think the human race will be just fine. Moving on to number 3, in the Metal Gear Solid series, one of my favorites, the box. I mean, there are a number of other bad disguises in Metal Gear Solid, particularly Metal Gear Solid 3, but Solid Snake and also Big Boss are both soldiers and agents, which is why they do both spy stuff and secret military stuff, but you'd think they'd be better at it. Obviously, one of the most infamous items in the entire series is the cardboard box, which is silly. You use it to hide in, and it doesn't matter where it is, out in the middle of the desert, in an industrial base, in a cave, in the forest, doesn't matter. Hide in a box. Guards mostly react with confusion more than anything else. I mean, there's other disguises too. Like when you dress up as a scientist in Metal Gear Solid 3, or the time you impersonate Rykov, who just so happens to look exactly like Raiden from Metal Gear Solid 2. I mean, yeah, it's enough to fool everyone in the base, but in an infamous scene, Volgin sees right through it. At number 2 is Octodad. The entire premise of the game is a bad disguise. You're a dad, but also an octopus. I mean, an octopus pretending to be a dad, or something. It's a comedy indie game about doing mundane things with impossible controls. It may be not the original of that kind of game, but it was definitely the first big hit in that very, very specific genre. Why does the octopus want to be a dad? Why does no one notice? Who knows? It's a ridiculous premise that's an excuse for silly things to happen. So, does it really matter? Still, it is definitely one of the worst disguises ever, even if that's kind of the point. And finally, number 1 is in Hitman when Agent 47 dresses up as a chicken, or a clown in Blood Money, or Santa, or an English judge for some reason in Hitman Absolution. Really any Agent 47 disguise, even the good ones. Agent 47's trademark scowl, shiny bald head, and barcode tattoo make him stand out like a sore thumb even when he's not in disguise. Why they decided this guy was perfect for a stealth disguise-oriented series is kind of beyond me, but it's definitely led to some pretty hilarious crap over the years. Like this. That is the world's most ornery looking clown in Blood Money. And I'm sorry, that's not a happy Santa. No child wants to see that Santa. He doesn't even have a beard. Absolution has this truly ludicrous scenario where you can don this English judge's costume, which, might I remind you, the mission takes place in Texas where there are no English judges, and you actually hear a trial, like you interrupt a trial in progress, steal the judge's costume, and then come out and continue the trial. And nobody notices, and it's in Texas. That wig. And why can you even wear this chicken costume? It doesn't make sense. Pretty much anyone in the real world would see right through basically any Agent 47 disguise, but that wouldn't really be a fun game, so we just go with it. And that's all for today. Let us know what you think in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week, and the best way to see them first is a subscription. So click subscribe, and don't forget to enable all notifications. As always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero, and we'll see you next time right here on gameranx.